Everybody, you are welcome to PAIDEF's second webinar, Tag AI Stellars. PAIDEF is a Practical Artificial Intelligence Development Foundation, a professional foundation based in Nigeria here. We have members across the world. So you are welcome to the program. I hope you can hear me.
Clearly, Publicity second.
Loud and clear. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, the members of the board of the advisory board, the national executive of PAIDEF, our members present, our guests, lecturer, another present here who are not yet members. I won't say those who are not members, those who are not yet members. We believe that most of you will join after today's program. So once again, you are welcome. I'll just share the agenda of today's event. Let me share my screen before giving it back to the guest lecturer. So we'll first of all be having an opening address by the president of PAIDEF, Professor Oludile Awodile, fellow of Nigerian Cultural Society. Then we are going to introduce our guest lecturer. We are going to read his profile, and he will have some 20 minutes to make a presentation. After doing that, we'll have an interactive session for 25 minutes, question and answer session for 25 minutes. We will be presenting an award and appreciate him and then close everything off. So we want to be done in the next 1 hour. We started just 3 minutes after 5. We hope to end in an hour's time, which is 3 minutes after 6. So Professor Oludele, National President, please, you have the floor for the opening address, sir.
Thank you very much, my brother. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, respected colleagues. I'm happy, to welcome you to this monumental event. That's our AI Stellar 2.0. You will recall that we had the first series last year in December, and I want to say and assure everyone that PAIDEF is committed to our core purpose and mission, playing a leading role in shaping the future of AI in Nigeria. How we leverage on this concept AI for positive social and economic transformation. And I would also like to say that PAIDEF, as a foremost association of AI in Nigeria, leading catalyst for excellence collaboration, innovation, and ethical practices of AI for the benefit of the people in academia, industry, government, and society. And it's good to also state that this association is driven by a vibrant community of AI practitioners. And that is why we'll maintain our focus in membership empowerment through education and training, research and innovation, and more importantly, we engage our members, building, capacity of our member through workshops, conferences, and training programs like this. I want to once again welcome all of us to this second series of AI Stellar, which I believe you agree with me that is highly enriching and inspiring. And today we are lucky to have an expert in the field of artificial intelligence and academia par excellence, a member of Mila Quebec AI Institute in Canada, and a professor from the University of McGill University, Professor David Adelani. We believe that this gathering this evening will be a productive and rewarding gathering that we learn, we unlearn and relearn. And I believe that at the end of this, August event, that everybody will be blessed with new knowledge. We are here to share new knowledge. We are here to build capacity we are here to develop ourselves. And I want to say that PAIDeF is committed into bringing this kind of program and many more to ensure that we engage our members for better adoption and deployment of AI in Nigeria. So once again, I want to welcome us and wish us a very vibrant and productive deliberation. Thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll go straight to reading the profile of our guest, Dr. David Adelani. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Adelani, who is an assistant professor at McGill School of Computer Science in Canada and a core academic member at Mila. Dr. Adelani's academic journey is both inspiring and internationally diverse. He began his studies in Nigeria, earning a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from the Federal University of Agriculture in Abeokuta in 2010. He then went on to complete an MSc in Computer Science at the African University of Science and Technology in Abuja in 2014. His quest for excellence led him to Saarland University in Germany, where he pursued a PhD in computer science as part of the Spoken Language Systems Group. Under the mentorship of Professor Dietrich Klappo, Dr. Adelani achieved his doctorate in 2023. His professional experience is equally impressive. Prior to his current appointment, he served as a DeepMind academic fellow at University College London, where he collaborated with UCL NLP Group on cutting-edge research. His academic pursuits also included a formative internship at the National Institute of Informatics in Japan, which added a valuable international perspective to his work during his PhD tenure at Saarland University. Beyond his research and teaching, Dr. Adelani is deeply committed to service and leadership within the academic community. He currently serves as a senior area chair for ACL 2025 and has held area chair positions at numerous prestigious conferences, including EMNLP, ACL, EACL, often focusing on topics such as efficiency in NLP, cross-lingual NLP, and cross-lingual NLP. He is also a dedicated reviewer for many international conferences and workshops, and he has played a significant role in organizing events such as Africa NLP at ICLR and workshops on multilingual representation learning at EMNLP. Additionally, as a director at the Massachusetts Research Foundation, he contributes to advancing natural language processing research throughout Africa. Dr. Adelani, you are welcome to our webinar. Please, you have the floor, Dr. Adelani.
Thank you very, very much for the nice introduction. I also want to thank Professor Udele for the introduction, Professor Shodia for the invitation, and I can also say some of my past professors at Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. I'm really honored to give this talk, and I hope we can have a very good deliberation. All right, so I will go straight into my talk. Today, I will be talking about natural language processing for under-resourced African languages. Natural language processing can be seen as a branch of AI that focuses on language or trying to understand language. And while language is what we use every day, it's also one of the most difficult things to model, especially for languages that do not have a lot of data on the web, or languages that are often oral. So I want to start my presentation by talking about some of the progress in language technology. Probably everyone here is well familiar with ChatGPT that kind of changed the research field like in 2022. So using ChatGPT, you could ask like a math question and ask ChatGPT to solve this. This is like a question you would give someone in maybe junior secondary school to solve. And the question is as simple as Mary is 2 years old, younger than Joan, who is 5 years older than Jessa. If Jessa is 20 years old, what is the sum of the ages of the three girls? I'm very sure everyone here will be able to solve this if I give you like 2-3 minutes. But you could ask the same question in another language like Yoruba. And what you will see is that the reasoning capabilities of this language model are different, whether you ask it in English versus whether you ask it in Yoruba, in Nigerian language. For the calculation here, you see that Mary's age, it needs to subtract like 2 from Mary's age before summing all their ages. But in Yoruba, I think it made a mistake to sum by 2 instead of subtracting by 2. But this problem cannot be seen in isolation. It's just because language technology just doesn't work very well for many African languages. But there are some times that actually language technology is needed urgently. For example, during COVID, there's this BBC article featuring one of our work, which is about how do you diversify the domain that is used by machine translation. So if you interact with Google Translate, and then one of the things that brought me to NLP is when I was studying in Germany, and I needed to interact with machine translation systems very often. And I tested it on Yoruba, and then the translation quality was bad. So, but when COVID happened, many people wanted to do translation of basic terms and sentences that has to do with health-related stuff, and they were not able to do it for many under-resourced languages. So why do we need to do research on other languages? You want people to be able to access information in any language of their choice, not only in English. And then you also want people to be able to communicate using any language, and also to be able to do human-to-human communication. You speak in one language, you want another person to understand in another language. And also, this is important for various voice interaction systems. If you want to use things like Siri, Alexa, which has a lot of potential in education, tourism, businesses, and humanitarian responses. And from the linguistic point of view, it's also very interesting to save languages from dying, because if people stop using our language, our technology doesn't support the language, and the last native speaker dies, then also the language dies with the last native speaker. So the truth of the matter is that we have over 7,000 languages in the world. Over 400 are spoken by more than 1 million speakers. And in Nigeria alone, we have over 500 languages. So I would let you, maybe many of you already know, most of the languages of the world are actually located in Africa. We have over 2,000 languages in Africa. And many of them are actually endangered, and only few of those languages can be categorized as institutional. These are languages that are often supported by schools, governments, mass media, but many languages of the world actually do not have support of many African languages. So one of the ways we categorize under-resourced languages in NLP is looking at the amount of labeled data that is available and unlabeled data that is available. Unlabeled data can be categorized as just text on the web, like Wikipedia, and then you can use this to train your AI model. And labeled data is what people have to annotate. Right? They have to annotate tweets, whether this is positive tweets, this is negative tweets, or this sentence belongs to this topic, business news, sport news, and so on. So in terms of the availability of data, most of the languages of the world actually belongs in class 0, where they don't have any unlabeled text. So even in Nigeria, for example, for some dialects of Yoruba, you may not even have any written text. And then you have some languages in category 1 that have some fewer available unlabeled data, but there's no labeled data. Maybe there's a Bible in that language, but that's the only available data. So we categorize languages that have a lot of resources as winners, like English or Spanish, and the other ones as left behind, class 0. And most African languages are from class 0 to class 5. Yeah. So in terms of African languages is very rich. We have many linguistic families from Afro-Asiatic, Shaharan to Niger, Congo, which spreads from West Africa to even southern part of Africa. And in terms of distribution, actually, these languages are heavily used as just very similar to the European languages. The way people kind of talk about English, French, Arabic, this is the same way African languages are used every day for many transactions, for many business operations in hospitals and schools and so on. So African languages are underrepresented in NLP, even though they are spoken by over 1.5 billion people due to lack of data set for training and evaluation. There is no data set. So no data set, no model, because we use machine learning methods. Weak language policies, there are different language policies that weakens the use of this language. In Nigeria, when I was growing up, I mean, we have to study Yoruba to high school and then make sure you pass Yoruba. And at some point, we had a language policy that said this is no longer compulsory. So this is an example of a bad language policy that actually affects the language in the future. So we have lack of compute. Many people want to train AI models, but there's no compute. There's no infrastructure. So how would they go about it? Unlimited coverage in multilingual representation of language models. So you have been hearing about language models for long. So language models are kind of in 3 categories. We have what is called encoder-only models. That means they want to have a good representation of text. So if you give them a sentence, you want to convert this sentence to vector representation and be able to encode it properly before you can do a downstream task, like sentiment classification. You have encoder-decoder, which is in the middle. And the idea of this kind of model is that you can use it for sequence-to-sequence tasks. For example, text summarization. You want to summarize a news article. You can use sequence-to-sequence modeling for that. You want to do machine translation. You have a text in one language. You have the output in another language. It's called like a sequence-to-sequence task. So an example of that model is T5. And nowadays, you see that on the right-hand side, we have so many models where you have GPT-4 and Gemini and Cloud and all these models. And this is the decoder-only models that are really popular and very powerful these days. But they are really, really data hungry and they require a lot of data. And all these are powered by what is called a deep learning model called a transformer architecture. So NLP in a nutshell. So what we typically do in NLP, basically, we do what is called self-supervised pre-training. You train your model on a large amount of text, and then you construct a supervised task so that you can learn from an unlabeled text. So basically, you can download the entire English Wikipedia and trying to create a good representation of all the words, all the sentences in the English Wikipedia. And one example of this kind of model is the BERT model, where you can construct a supervised task. The chicken lays an egg, and then you can say, predict the missing words, chicken and an. And if you're able to train the model this way, you can have a very good representation of this text. Yeah. So we call this the pre-train and fine-tune. So once you train a model like that, you can fine-tune it on different downstream tasks, like sentiment classification, like question answering, and so on. And nowadays, what we do is what is called pre-train, prompt, and predict. And the idea is that you can train a language model, and the language model is based on causal LM. And the idea is you want to predict the next word given a previous word. If you say the cat is sitting on a, you want the language model to predict mat. And then if you train this over a large amount of text, what happened is that all you have to do is you have created a very powerful model, And all you have to do is just to prompt the model. So basically like chatting with the model. And then after after the model gives you an answer, you need to analyze the answer with a verbalizer to be able to actually give what is the right answer. So what are the challenges of NLP for African languages? I know I don't have a lot of time, so I will just stop whenever the time is up. So the first one is low quality pre-training data, leading to poor downstream performance. The second thing I will talk about is limited evaluation data. And the third one is language technologies may not capture different cultural nuances. Even though they are multilingual, that doesn't make them multicultural. And the last one is limited evaluation of African languages by frontier large language models. So how many people have really tested ChatGPT and Gemini on how they perform, for example, on African languages? Okay, so the first one, I'm going to focus on low quality pre-trained data, and I'm going to use an example of automatic diacritics restoration that many of you may be familiar with in Yoruba, and how to develop a good model by actually improving the quality of the data. So we want to automate the process of improving the quality of the data and also leverage human in the loop for data filtering. Okay, so some of the known text quality issues. For example, you can have code switching, you have a text, especially on tweets, you have English, Yoruba, and Nigerian Pidgin mixed together in the same sentence. How do you distinguish between these texts? How do you even, how does a language model really understand what's going on in the text if it covers multiple languages in the same text? And we do speak this way. We have mixed dialects. You have some languages like Twi spoken in Ghana, that they have different dialects. You have two different dialects meaning the same thing, and they have some character variation. You have Rwanda and Rundi, which are two different languages spoken in two different countries, but they are very closely related. And when people write, they mix these languages together. The third one is diacritics problem. When people kind of write, especially when they type on your mobile and they do not put tonal marks. And when you are trying to develop a language technology, a lot of information are lost because you do not put tonal marks. And also low quality extracted data from Common Crawl. Common Crawl is web archive. Some organization, what they do is that everything you have published in a year, some organization will just archive it. And then this kind of data is now being released back to the web that people can now use this to train AI models. Okay, so in terms of the Yoruba diacritics problem, which many of you may be familiar with, you have three different words. Here you have owo, and it's mapped to OWO, which doesn't mean anything in Yoruba language. And then you could have other examples. And then this is one tweet I had where alejo can mean many, many, many things in Yoruba. And sometimes you have to specify the right tonal marks to be able to disambiguate or to understand what's going on. And this has implication. For example, if you want to teach a language model to speak your language, without the right tonal marks, you're going to be in a lot of issues because it doesn't learn this proper tonal marks. Not all languages have tonal marks, but this is a peculiar thing for Yoruba that actually might affect performance. So we had this experiment for an EROC paper where we asked people to listen to a model we trained to speak Yoruba and to give what is called a mean opinion score. What do you think about this audio? Does it sound very well? Does it read the text very well in Yoruba language? And this was evaluated by 70 people. And what we find out that without the diacritics, with diacritics, people rate this very high in terms of mean opinion score that they can understand. But without diacritics, you see that the performance drops, like really goes down, just because a lot of information are lost if you don't add these tonal marks. So one of the ways you can actually restore the diacritics is also using the sequence-to-sequence model like the transformer, where you pass in the source text, bó tilẹ̀ jẹ́ pé ẹgbẹgbẹ̀rún ti padà sílẹ̀, and then it's going to add the total marks back. One way we have been able to improve this is in a recent paper in Africa NLP, where we just collected text from Bible, GW 300, and a new corpus we created called YARD, and we benchmark against previous work by Orife. And the idea is that using different T5 models, you can see that we consistently improve performance, especially even if you use the last model. The last model is interesting because we actually trained it only on Yoruba text. So if you train it on Yoruba text, you actually have better performance than training it on maybe many African languages or training it on many languages. Like the MT5 was trained on over 100 languages. Africlever was trained on 16 African languages, and Oyo T5 was trained on only Yoruba language, and you can see that the performance is better if you only train on the Yoruba language for this task, because the issue is more peculiar to Yoruba. So a Yoruba specific model was better at this task. And when we try different combination of data, you see that the more data you had, actually you can improve performance. So that means the more data we have for a particular task, we can always improve performance. So the next problem I want to talk about is the pre-training data. Where is most of our pre-training data coming from? It's coming from what is called a web archive common crawl. And what people do is that they remove offensive content that people don't want to see, and then they'll do what is called language identification. So you analyze the entire web, and people take a snapshot of the web every year, and then you get all this data, and then someone has to find a way to categorize all this text into different languages, like English, French, German, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, and so on. And Google created a corpus like that called MC4. And one way we actually used to improve this data, we created a new corpus called Wura, and the idea is coming from the Yoruba meaning of gold, which is if we improve the quality of data, it just continues to shine, basically from gold. So, and the idea is what we did is very interesting. So what we did was, in the first step, we choose 10% of the URLs that we get from this data set. And then, for example, like bbc.com/Yoruba. And what happened is that if you just analyze the top 10 URL, you are going to get small data. So, which is not what you want to achieve. And then what we did was, now we do a target crawling, and then we'll recrawl data that are up to date for these different URLs. And what we are going to, we finally obtain is like more data that are of better quality, because we also noticed that the top 10 URLs are also the URLs that produce more articles in Yoruba and of better quality. And with this, we actually now train a T5 model that we can now use for different downstream tasks. And on the machine translation task, we can see that using our new model that was trained on better quality data, actually we're able to perform better on many languages, except a few languages like Nigerian Pidgin and Igbo, in both directions. So improving the quality of data actually improves your downstream model. So the next one I'm going to talk about, probably before I run out of time, is how to rate evaluation data set. And in this case, we collaborated with Masakani community to actually create downstream data set for African languages. So we focus on name entity recognition task, which is about identifying entities in text like personal names, date, organization. And the idea is that, you know, at the beginning of my PhD, when I started, there is not a lot of data sets. And by collaborating with this Masakani community, we have been able to actually create many data sets for Africa NLP. And other people have contributed to this, like ZiniML competition. And we have some also funding agency like Lacuna Fund, AI4D, that have contributed to also funding data set for African languages. So Masakani is central to all this because it's a grassroots community that has over 3,000 members on Slack, And we organize African NLP workshop at top AI conferences, and people come from different countries and also work together to create labeled data sets for their languages. Some are voluntary, like participatory research. For the Mascana project, we collaborated with many people from around the world, from US, mostly many people actually from Africa. And then we actually create data sets, name entity recognition data set for African languages. But of course, if you don't have funds, you can only create small amounts of data. So with additional funding, we're able to scale the amount of data to many, many countries around Africa. Initially, we focused on West Africa and East Africa. Now we extend to many other countries, especially in southern part of Africa.
Dr.
And then-
Adelani,
yeah.
your time is up, but we'll give
Okay.
you 5 more minutes. We'll take that from the Q&A.
All right. Okay. I'm just going to round off in 5 minutes. All right. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, thank you. So, and if you look at different languages, and you see that many languages have different characteristics. Some use a different scale, some have more morphology, and some use more diacritics, some use noun classes, and it just shows you the beauty of African languages and different features that they have. I'm going to stop on this, which is challenge 3, which is LLMs do not capture well African culture. So here we had a paper on integrating Yoruba cultural greetings into machine translation. And the idea is that how can we make this language technology more multicultural? So if someone says Eku, it can mean 2 things in Yoruba language. It could mean they died, or it could mean greetings. So you could have something like Okurin, Eku Ode, and Oku Joku, which means just greetings. And then if you ask machine translation model, Eku Jumo, Esiku Dede Asikoyi, and then the translation is just good morning and compliments for this period. And then all the Google Translate and all the models will just say, die every day, die at this time. And they just don't understand the cultural aspect of this greeting. So to actually solve this problem, what we did was to create a small amount of data and ask someone like 160 samples, and ask someone to also provide short sentences with additional context, and then we fine-tune an existing machine translation model. So basically you have something like this, Equifair, and someone kind of elongates Equifair and adds more context to this. And based on this, using this, we're able to now train a machine translation model. And you can see that on our data set, which is called Ikini Yoruba, and then you find out that our model actually achieved the best performance. While Google Translate achieved like 9.5, we achieved like almost 30% blue score. And when we ask humans to actually rate it, they find our model to be more cultural preserving in terms of that. And then you can see an example here where someone is saying, Eku Ajabo or Remi, and then you find out that our model is the only one that could actually get the context very well. So I'm going to stop here because now I run out of time. And this is the last project which I could talk another time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adelani, for that very insightful presentation. I'm sure if we will give you an hour more, you'll continue talking and we won't want to stop listening. Well, we hope that we'll still have an opportunity to listen to you probably at one of our other programs, even possibly a physical one. So thank you so much for the insightful presentation, Doctor. The next segment, without taking much of our time, is the Q&A segment. So if you have questions or you have something you want to add, please show your hand so that we can call you and you can have the floor. Professor Onoshoga, you have the floor.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Prof.
Yeah,
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I just want to appreciate Professor Adelani for giving his time to Professor, how are you? I've always known that you will get even above this level, right from the time you were in the undergraduate days. Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
This Professor Nashoga, yeah.
Yeah,
How
I
are
know,
you?
ma'am. I'm doing well, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, how are you? How is the family? Well, thanks for the insights given to this topic. It's a pity it's quite short. It's quite short, and we'll have loved to have you more. Okay, so dwell more on some other parts. But I just want to know, you've talked about the Yoruba-centric, what's it called? Centric model. Okay, that's a Yoruba specific model.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to know, are these models widely available that those that are working in research-related areas can easily pick it up? You have done a lot of work on this right from the time you were in Germany. Okay, yeah, on your PhD. So I just want to know if these models are widely available, just like you have all these training models that you can easily pick on.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah,
for now. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, Ma. Thank you so much for, for the kind words, and I really appreciate the mentorship I also received in UNAP, because that was the first time I was introduced to research. So in terms of the models, the models are available most of the time on organ phase. So most of the models we release, we put it on Organ Face Model Hub that anybody can use. And even if the model is not available, we also release the data set that someone can retrain the model very quickly. So most cases, we do provide access to the models and data. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have, sorry, I don't know if it's doctor or professor, or Deronke or Denny. You have the floor, ma'am.
Okay, hello, good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good evening, sir. Thank you very much for this very insightful session, Professor Adelani. I first of all want to appreciate Professor Shodia for inviting me to this session. I really, in fact, immediately he sent me the invite, I quickly went on to register. And also a very big thank you to Professor Awudele also for being a part of this amazing experience. Actually, I'm a budding researcher. I'm a lecturer of computer science, and I really, really like this particular area. I'm not yet a doctor, but I intend pursuing a PhD very soon. So my question to Dr. Adelani is, does he have any opportunities to take in a PhD student? Because honestly, I'd like to work with him if he does not mind, if he has, an opportunity to take up a PhD student. That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. We do have like regular applications at December. So every year we hire PhD students. And yeah, I would always love to hire from student from Africa. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to pick a question from the chats, from Mr. or Mrs. Bamidele Adenle. He asked, which algorithm model to enhancing telehealth with conversation AI chatbot-based medical diagnosis using NLP?
Yeah.
I
That's
hope
a
you can
great
make a
question.
sense of the question.
Sure. That's a great question. The good thing with NLP now is that we kind of use very similar models, and what changes is the data. So like I showed you one model, which is the transform architecture. This is the same model that everybody uses. From building a small model like the architect's restoration to building like ChatGPT is the same model. So what changes is the size of the data and the data that is used to train it, and how large it is, and how big is the model. What are the parameters of the model? And what kind of model? So it's kind of very similar model that you would use. So for your task, what you will typically do is to pick a pre-trained model and then fine-tune it on your downstream task, which is on conversational text. And I think this should work out. Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Next is Mr. or Dr. or Professor Oladipupo Senaike. Hope I got the pronunciation of his name correctly. You have the
Yeah,
floor.
you
Please, your
can.
question.
Okay, so it's Shenaike. All right, thank you very much. And I want to appreciate the leadership of this group. I've been part of the group from the beginning, but I've been quite very quiet. And I want to appreciate our speaker, who we have crossed paths in the past on a project. I want you to advise budding researchers on, the path to go, for NLP research. You have done a lot of work. Our environment is quite very different, right? There are a lot of challenges that our people will have to overcome. What do you advise? Because I'm actually looking forward to a lot more people in our environment working on these same problems that you are working on. It's local to our environment. We should be able to solve our problems ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Senaike. Yes, like you are all probably aware of some of the challenges we face. Also, I think one of the biggest challenges for most African researchers is compute, because you need like reliable compute infrastructure to be able to train this model, right? So, number two is skill, but skill can be gotten, but you still need with further training, but you still need compute. So if there's no compute infrastructure, it's really difficult. But the good thing is that nowadays, there's also a lot of opportunities that people try to maybe provide compute or API credits to African researchers if they want to do research. So there are some applications, for example, Google Research does offer like some API credits. And then if people find like willing partners in Nigeria, I'm sure they will also be able to assist with not solar, but with compute infrastructure and GPU infrastructure. Although there's some challenges on how this will be powered. Maybe if this can be powered by solar, then maybe it works very well. But anywhere in the world, like especially if you work in academia, the compute is not sufficient. And we need to work on having better compute to be able to compete with the rest of the world. Another thing one can work on is the problem of data. So we are very close to the data because we speak these languages. So if one works on data and collaborates with other researchers around the world that have compute, it could be a very great partnership, right? So, and for example, the project Professor Schneike was talking about, we partnered with an organization in Nigeria that collected the data, and then we did the modeling, and then we could work together. So such things might also work if we have willing people that are able to collect data within their communities. They could partner with other researchers. And last thing is that you could partner with communities that work on this. Like you have these growing communities, PAIDeF, and then people can work together to be able to solve this problem. Lastly is that we could also work together for grant application, like people that are like-minded could come together to work on grant application that could fund data securation, that could fund compute infrastructure and things like that. Yeah, I hope this helps a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Before we take the next question, well, somebody asked me directly that I didn't introduce myself when we started the program. We're in a rush to get started. So I'm Taofik Abdukareem, the Director of Publicity and Protocols for PAIDeF. Besides that, please take note that this webinar is being recorded and it will be shared on our social media platforms after the webinar. Then for those who are interested in contacting Dr. David Adelani directly, I've shared a link to his About Me page where you can get his email and areas of interest and probably contact him if you need to. Next person who has the floor is Dr. Femi Oyedepo. You have the floor.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening. Chairman, thank you for the good work you have been doing. The webinar has been a very insightful and useful one, I must confess. My question for the prof, sir, I know you are well aware that even in Yoruba language, we still have several dialects. So we may, as you have taken Yoruba as a case study now, if we constrain ourselves to the general Yoruba that is being spoken among us, for instance, wouldn't it be better if some of the characters are already on a pre-designed Yoruba keyboard, as it were, so that because it's not everybody that speaks Yoruba that can actually put the tonal marks on those languages. But we know with the help of AI, once you say what you have to say, you may have to pick from the data set produced and algorithmically. So I would want to know if the keyboard, specifically for the language, will lessen the burden of the programming in that particular NLP. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think you have raised very, very important issues. Yes, we do have dialects in Yoruba, and actually they are even underexplored. And I think this is a very big opportunity. We had a work on some Yoruba dialects, but it was really challenging to even get it data. But if you're very close, maybe you're a native speaker of Ijebu dialect or Ekiti dialect, or if a dialect and you want to contribute data, I think it's something that you can do because you're very close to the source and probably you even speak it, and I think you can contribute. So in terms of people that don't speak, that cannot write it, it's not a problem because NLP extends beyond text. You could also work on speech. Like I gave you an example of text to speech where you read things out. We also have another kind of technology called automatic speech recognition, where someone will speak and then the model can transcribe automatically what the person has said into text. We also have another approach, which is speech-to-speech translation, which is simultaneous speech translation. That means someone will speak in one language, and then the model will be able to translate it to another language. So all these are possible with the power of AI with appropriate data. And even if we don't have a lot of text, it's not a barrier in developing language technology for dialects or languages that do not have a lot of text. Yeah, I hope this helps a bit.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we should be able to take 1 or 2 more questions. We still have 3 minutes for Q&A.
My question is in the comment section, please.
I think I missed that. Can you just ask directly?
Okay, thank you. My name is Sylvester. I just want to say thank you to the presenter. I would like to know if there are efforts. Okay, yes, of course there are efforts Africans, Nigerians are making to developing our own models, solving our own problems. But like popular models out there, generative AI models that are like ChatGPT, China's DeepSeek AI, do we have publicly available and accessible interactive AI models developed by Africans? Any at all? I've actually done a Google search, but I wanted to just leverage this opportunity to find out from the experts. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish my talk because I prepared for 30 minutes instead of 20 minutes. Sorry, I apologize for that. But we do have, like, I wanted to talk about Afrobench, which is about the current language technology, like ChatGPT, and what they do cover. And the truth of the matter is that the way these models have been trained, they actually try to cover as many languages as possible on different tasks. So here I'm showing you different models and their performance, and most of the best models are either one created by Google, like Gemini, or the other one created by OpenAI, like ChatGPT, GPT-4o. So the truth of the matter is that they just try to train on as many languages as possible. Even they don't even disclose what they train on. And what we have observed is that slowly they are able to do much better on African languages with new iteration of the model. So the first time I tested this, like 2 years ago, the performance was not very good, but nowadays the performance has improved and they continue to improve these models. But we don't know where they get the data from. But one of the ways they get their data is what I've described very briefly here, which is they try to get it from Common Crawl, and then they do language identification directly, and then they use this to train their model. And this is what they do. So if you now have a lot of Yoruba text on the web, they're able to get it and then use it to train their model. Yeah.
But
Thank you,
on our own
Dr.
level,
Okay.
we seem to not have models like this we're working on, right?
In terms of just African-centric, we do have some attempts, but the performance are really terrible at the moment. Yeah. So I wouldn't advertise them at this time. But there are people really working on this to ensure that we have such models. And I think it will
Thank
come
you.
soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Adelani. With that, we've come to the end of the Q&A session, not the end of the program itself. Next, we have on the agenda is award and appreciation. Once the chair of our advisory board, Professor Additional Studia, to handle that for us. Professor Studia, sir, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much, the moderator of this event. Good evening, dear President, Professor Awodele, and other distinguished members of the National Executive of NCS that are also attending this event, members of executive of PAIDeF, and other members. Yes, we note all our members that have joined and non-members. Most especially, I want to also join others in appreciating Dr. David Adelani, for his interest, he did not even think about it twice before he accepted to be our guest speaker. He has been working, for a long time in this area of NLP, and he has done a lot of work. And we thought that it's important we bring him to come and share his experiences, his thoughts with us in this area of artificial intelligence. So, Dr. Adelani, we want to thank you, we want to appreciate you for your interest, for your time. And of course, we want to make PAIDeF your home, your association. So I know that our style is, and I'm very sure the president and other executive member, we are also going to grant it that will make you a member, a standing member of PAIDeF, even while you are away, from Nigeria. We intend to make PAIDeF an international organization. So it is good that we continue to have people outside Nigeria. Even one of the executive of PAIDeF currently is also somebody outside Nigeria. So we'll be glad to have you as a member. And I think the president has approved us as I'm speaking. Secondly, we also want to appreciate you specially, by making a presentation to you. Of course, we know that if you have to count very few people in the field of AI, that have really achieved, that have made inroad into AI, that have actually developed so many wonderful tools and methods, and models in the field of AI, trying to solve the problem we have, peculiar problem of Nigeria. You cannot count 5 people without mentioning David Adelani. So we want to present this award to you. This award is a special award. It's an award that you cannot see anywhere. It's an award that we call AI Stellar 2.0. We have had the first edition of this program, and our presenter, Chinasa, we presented that with AI Stellar 1.0 award. So you are AI Stellar 2.0 award, and it's in recognition of your contribution globally to the field of AI, NLP in this case. And of course, for showing support for this program, for accepting to be part of this program. And at the end of the day, for the insightful presentation, for wonderful presentation today, we are presenting this award on behalf of President of PAIDeF, on behalf of the members of the National Executive, and on behalf of the entire membership of PAIDeF. On behalf of the members of the advisory board too, we want to present this special award to you as our AI Stellar 2.0. This is a unique award, and of course, it's something that we are going to note forever, And of course, we expect that you are going to be part of whatever we are doing in PAIDeF. We are planning so many programs. We are going to have a technical workshop very soon, a physical technical workshops very soon. And we'll also be having please kindly mute your mic. We'll be having our conference. The theme of our conference is coming up this year. We have not concluded on the venue and date. The theme of the conference is Super AI, for development. So it's really going to be an interesting thing. So we'll be working with you, if it's going to be possible, to not just to make presentation virtually. We'll appreciate if it's also going to be possible for you to be on ground. So we'll give you the dates early enough. So if you are planning to come to Nigeria, so just plan to come to Nigeria at that period. We'll really appreciate to have you. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Adelani, for coming around to share your experience and thought with us. We appreciate you so much. Almighty God will continue to be with you. Thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for the kind words. Thank you for the award. Thank you for all the great work that PAIDeF has been doing, and thanks for the great mentorship, starting from UNAP, and all your help throughout my career. I'm always happy to hit your call whenever you call. Thank you so much. Yeah.
So we'll send mail to you to forward the certificate to you, and of course, details about what you need to document about your membership of PAIDeF. We'll be forwarding a mail to you on those ones. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Director, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Sodia, the chairman of Advisory Board of PAIDeF. Like I mentioned earlier, I just want to remind those who are watching or those who are part of this webinar that we'll be sharing the recorded version, a recording of it on our social media handles, on both on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you want to contact Dr. David Adelani, if you go through the chats, you will be able to see his About Me page, where you can have access to his email and other ways of contacting him. Next, we have on the agenda is closing remarks. I'm going to closing remarks from our Director of Education and Capacity Building, Dr. Emeka.
Director, please check your chat. Check the chat before you please.
Just a minute, please.
President, what happened to our director?
Yeah, sorry, I just went off for a few minutes. I'm sorry about that. For those who have joined this webinar who are not yet members, when we started, I said to members and those who are not yet members, because we expect everybody who has joined to join us. You can visit our website, that's paidef.org.ng, and click on the link on membership. You'll see details of how you can become a member of PAIDeF. That's PAIDeF, PAIDEF.org.ng, and check membership, or just search for PAIDeF membership online. You'll be able to see how you can join PAIDeF. We'll be looking forward to having you. So, like I said earlier,
Director of Publicity, sorry, can you share your WhatsApp number too with them, so that they can also get in touch with you through your WhatsApp number, or WhatsApp number of the General Secretary, anyone.
Okay, I'll send that. I'll send that while we take Dr. Emeka Oguju, our Director of Education and Capacity Building, to give us closing remarks. Please, Dr. Emeka, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So on behalf of the Practical Artificial Intelligence and Development Foundation, PAIDeF, and all of us, all the attendees, including the intending members and the members and executives, I would like to sincerely thank our speaker today, Dr. David Adelani, for his insightful presentation on NLP, natural language processing for African languages in particular. And we are so happy that it is also in line with the languages in Nigeria. So today's AI Stella 2.0 speaker is really in-depth into the entire processes. So your work on NLP is truly inspiring, and they all highlight the importance of advancing AI solutions which are tailored to our local context in Nigeria. So I want to also say a special appreciation to PAIDeF for creating this platform, AI Stellars 2.0, and the subsequent versions. And also for being at the forefront of AI development in Nigeria currently, which is helping us to foster learning, collaboration, and innovation in artificial intelligence. To all of our participants here today, I appreciate your engagement, your curiosity, because we've seen all the entire questions that are coming, and then interest on NLP in Nigeria. So all of these conversations are all trying to move us forward, and we appreciate your time and your contribution. And I also want to say that if you are not yet a member of PAIDeF, please, we encourage you to join us. Go to the website www.paidef.org.ng and join us. We are building a very vibrant NLP community. The first webinar that we held at PAIDeF was purely on NLP, and that was a practical hands-on experience. And today also we have seen Dr. David Adelani giving us a very insightful presentation on them. So, and we are sure with support of senior practitioners like Dr. David, we will continue to gain more insight, more hands-on experience in our subsequent workshops. So finally, thank you for attending. Thank you for being part of what is going on. Let's keep on learning. Let's keep on collaborating. Let's keep on pushing forward on the boundaries of AI for Africa and for Nigeria. And thank you once again. We look forward to seeing everyone in the next AI Stellar 3.0. Congratulations and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Emeka, and thank you all for coming, from the executive members of NCS that are present here, to the executives of PAIDeF, the advisory board of PAIDeF, members of PAIDeF, and all those who have attended, and especially Dr. David Adelani. Thank you so much and have a great evening.